And this one is more personal to me because this is what I did and it drastically changed my entire life. Because when I was around the age of 15 years old, I just had this insight. I don't know where it came from. It just came to me. The insight was that if I got a job like most people, I would end up like most people. And when I look at most people's lives, I would understand that right as I accepted the job, a third of my time would be taken from me. That's insane. Job, a third of my time would be taken from me. That's insane. A third of my time that I could use to better myself, do what I want, other things of that nature, create a type of work that I enjoy so that I don't hate a third of my life. I don't know how that doesn't register to certain people. But then on top of that, another third of my life would be spent in this low energy state right after work when I'm drained from putting in energy to something that I hate, and you become what you focus on. So if you focus on something that you hate, you're going to become something that you hate. And the other third of your life, when you get back from work, you're just drained. You don't want to do anything. I remember when I was working as a web designer at my 9-to-5 job, I had been in the gym for my entire teenage years. It was very important to me. And that was the only time that I've ever started skipping the gym, right? I didn't want to go after work because that would just extend how much less free time I had to myself. I would go to work it would take an hour to commute. So I'd leave at 8, get there at 9, clock out at 6 because an hour lunch. And then that doesn't count towards your 9-to-5. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to drive to the gym 10 minutes, work out at the gym, maybe an hour, drive back home an hour. And then I just have to go to bed if I want to get my sleep in.
Yeah, and I understand to a T what he's trying to say, man. Like, I grew up watching my parents go to work early, coming back late at night, tired, exhausted, and all they can literally do when they get back is eat food and go to bed. And then the next day they repeat this process again. Mondays to Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, and the only time they get to rest is one day on a Sunday, you know? And it just screamed no to me. Like, everything in my body revolted at the idea of spending the rest of my life like that. And I told them, time without number. I pray to God every day because I really want this thing to click for me before, life kind of like forces me to do it. Because eventually it's like, okay, bruh, we give you enough time, you probably need to go to work because now you have to put food on the table. How long would you keep lounging off your parents, But that's why I'm so dedicated. That's why I really want to do this thing. That's not life, man. That's not the way to live. That's not the way to. You're not even living. You're just surviving. You're a robot at that point, you know? I want to be free. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do, how I want to do it. That's literally my whole thing. And the grind, as much as we call it a grind, the process, it shapes us. It teaches us what to expect. Because I remember when I was done with school, I didn't go the normal route my friends did. I purposely delayed, and God helped me to delay too by making some things not work. You know, and during that time, I had all this free time, and I felt lonely. I felt isolated because all my friends were busy doing one thing or the other, and I felt, oh, I was lagging behind. When in truth they just had to be at work. They were doing all these things, and I wasn't working, so it was like, nobody cares about me, blah blah blah. But then I realized that, bruh, this is literally what it's gonna be like. Because when I make it out, because it's a matter of when I do it and I get to make money doing the things I love and having all this free time to myself, because all I have to do is sit in front of it, a camera, and talk and say and do things. My friends are probably going to be, working 9 to 5. And I won't get to hang out with them a lot, except maybe on Sundays where they can barely scrape enough time. Now, I'm not saying I'm better than them, you know. I'm just saying that life is not for me, and that's the contrast it's going to create in future, because they don't have any free time. I have all the free time in the world, So it's like, okay, you have to be comfortable with this loneliness, really, because this is what you're asking for. And a lot of times we ask for blessings, but we don't know what it means. We don't understand what it means to have that blessing we're asking for. And so we get to experience what the blessing comes with in pieces, because it keeps training us, it keeps refining us until we are able to handle that blessing.
Actually live a healthy life, and being healthy to me was a value then. That sounds horrible. Now, the reason that I put this section at this point in the video, because if you've reached this point of the video and you agree with most of the things that I've said, you have similar goals, then I don't feel bad about saying this or prescribing this as a piece of advice and blanketing it. But the piece of advice is that you need to start a business. I know what type of person you are. You need to start one right now, and you need to begin working on it, and you need to make it a success. You're not the type of person that's going to go furiously in the comments and say, oh, not everyone should start a business, because you are the person who wants full control over their time, energy, focus, and money. You understand that the good life and flow states and anything good in life stems from an increasing level of challenge that is matched by an increasing level of development in your mind, body, spirit, finances, etc. And at 99% of jobs, I'm not talking about the 1% that 99% of you aren't going to get. At the 99% of jobs, the level of challenge just stops after like 6 months, right? You get used to the job, you've gone through the tutorial phase of the job, you're working on the tasks, it becomes normal to you, and then you just get into this repetitive routine of wake up, go to your computer, go to the office, wherever you go, and just do the same thing day after day. And that's a great way to waste 40 years of your life. It psychologically castrates you. And if you don't believe me, just research psychology for a year and you will understand exactly what I'm saying. Now, if this is one of your first businesses that you're starting, it doesn't really matter what kind of business you start, because what you do 2 to 3 years from now will be completely different. You are simply starting a business and trying to make money, because you aren't going to learn how to make money or start a business until you do it. There is absolutely no world where you're going to watch 40 hours of YouTube and read 10 books and magically within a year build $1 million business. It isn't going to happen. You have to go through the trial and error. You need to start whatever it is and then learn along the way to overcome roadblocks, and you pivot along the way. You're going to start with a personal brand or a software company or an e-commerce or drop shipping or whatever the flavor of the day one is right now. One thing I would recommend is just doing something that is popular on YouTube, because if it is popular, that means that yes, even though it's saturated, it works. So just keep a finger on the pulse of the newer business models that are coming out. And if you actually commit to it, which 99% of people don't, then you will probably make 10 to 100K a month if you actually have a bone in your body that can improve and iterate and not quit after 2 weeks. Those who are not in the game just don't understand how little competition there actually is. Just because you're scrolling on social media all day or you see all of this success, these successful businesses popping up, it's like 10 to 50 people that you're seeing. That's it. Maybe 100, maybe 200 out of 7 to 8 billion people on this planet.
That's right. That's right. YouTube usually just recommends the biggest videos out on the topic that you're looking for or that you're interested in. They show you the biggest videos first. And so you start to think, oh man, the first video you're seeing is 300K, second video, 1.2 million, third video, 500K. And then you're looking at yours and it's like 28 views. It's like, and it's like, there's so much success, like how are you going to do it? The truth is, those are like 6, 7, 10 people max, and there are thousands of people trying to be content creators. They all claim content creation, but not even 5% of them have the smarts that you have to be able to iterate and to make corrections and to trend your content in the right place to the right person and your vision that you have for that. Not everybody has the natural talent and presence and charisma that you have on screen to do this thing right. So you see all these unsuccessful, business. I call content creation a business because it is. Your end goal is to make money, so it's a business. All these unsuccessful content creators, all these unsuccessful business entrepreneurs, wannabes, and you're thinking, man, they're all failing. What makes me think I'm gonna succeed? Bro, you just have to be consistent. You just have to be consistent, focused, and smart. That's it. That's all. Your natural ability that's inbuilt in you because it's something you enjoy is going to continue to come out, and one day you're going to hit the jackpot. All you have to do is keep doing it.
The echo chamber that you're in is so incredibly small, it's actually mind-boggling. The only successful people in an online business, as one example, are those who just don't care if there's competition and know that they can grab their piece of the pie too. Now, on to the first thing that you should do. We just went over the 3 traps. Now we're going to go over the 3 things you should do. The first is to set goals that fucking scare you. And when I was mapping out this video, I felt like this ball in my chest of emotion, of thinking back to the time where you think to yourself, like, I can't believe how far I've come, right? You don't see how far you've come until you reflect on it and look back and see, wow, I've actually accomplished all of these things. When you're an executor, when you're an action taker, you're a doer, you just do things, right? It's just a part of you. It's what you do. You can't wake up and not make some form of progress. And so when you look back, you're like, holy crap, like I actually made it that far. I published 2 books and it doesn't even feel like I published 2 books. Like I feel as if I've made my younger self proud because little Dan never would have freaking guessed that I...
Yeah, we don't give ourselves enough credit. I've been making content since 2021. And even before that, but let's say seriously, I've been doing this now. So I have taken breaks in and out, but my first video looks nothing like the video I'm doing now. It was completely different, very unserious. I was, it just wasn't really a good video. And funny enough, one of those videos blew up. I had 31K views just off that video, but I didn't capitalize on it at the time, and so I lost the wave, but that's not to say anything, but you don't give yourself enough credit for how far you've come. I've opened 4 TikTok channels, 4 YouTube channels, just trying different things at different points in my life. All failures, by the way, except that one video that blew up. And I'm still going, 4 years later, and one day someone's going to see me on their screen with 2 million views on a video, and I average about 1 million views per video, and they're going to be like, damn, this guy, where did he come from? I just found out about him. He's just one of those lucky people, I guess, not knowing that I have put 5, 6, 7 years into this game, man. And I finally got my break.
Would have actually written 2 books or been the CEO of a small and scrappy startup company or built such a wide influence on the internet, like he wouldn't have even thought of that. Now, the problem with this is that the pursuit of greatness is often shot down by people who never do anything great. They see it as shallow or materialistic, or they see getting rich or achieving goals as just that. They only pinpoint it. They put a spotlight on that, and they're like, you're a bad person because you want to make money or you want to be famous. I don't want to be famous, but that's like, I don't consider myself famous either. I think I have a pretty large influence, but that's the byproduct of creating value in the way that I'm creating it, such as a YouTube video. But these people don't understand that there is something there. There's something deep. In my personal opinion, the deepest and most meaningful things come from the pursuit of materialistic or shallow things, because you can only reach the depths once you've scratched the surface, once you've started digging down. And by not pursuing anything but the domain of spirituality, which that's only one domain. There's also the material, the money, the mind, the body, the health, etc. You have to do all of these things if you actually want to become a well-rounded individual. And the thing with pursuing these goals that scare you or even scare your younger self, or that your younger self wouldn't have even conceived, is that it just, that alone is a source of energy that is so potent that even the world's strongest stimulant just can't compare to it. It feels so good, and that's not sustainable. Don't try to sustain it, but I'm sure you felt that when you're pursuing this big grand vision, that is just a massive source of intrinsic motivation. It's like a cosmic pull that is just calling you to become your higher self. It's your calling. It's a self-imposed calling. So to replicate this, I want you to pull out a sheet of paper and I want you to write at the top 10 goals, 10 years. And I want you to write down 10 goals that make you physically uncomfortable for 1 year at a time for 10 years. And then you're just going to focus on one massive goal per year. Why? Because your mind expands to fill the goals set for achievement. It's like Parkinson's law, but for goals. And because building a $1 million company takes almost as much effort as building a $100 million company. And if you don't believe that, you don't understand it. You don't understand that when you set a massive goal, it changes the actions that you take. If you're trying to build a $1 million company, you're going to take $1 million actions because that's your goal. If you try to build a $100 million company, you're going to go down a pretty different direction in order to get there. And you only have 8 hours of work in you a day. It takes the same freaking amount of effort. And one could even argue that a local coffee shop owner or a restaurant owner works so much harder than someone who has started an online business, and they make so much less because the goal of it is much smaller. The opportunity in it, the leverage in it is much smaller. Now there's lots of context missing there, and there's obviously ways to build chains of these coffee shops or other things of that nature, but we live in 2025, and for most people, starting an online business is a lower cost way to go with a much higher upside. And with the internet, it's a lot more common now that hard work doesn't lead to much in isolation. You can spend 10 years writing a book, and that doesn't mean that that book will get you rich. It doesn't mean that people will read it. It doesn't mean that it's good. Now, the second thing to do is to make as much money as you can. Why are we trying to make as much money as we can? Are we doing it because we're bad or because we're evil people who just want to make a lot of money? No, we're actually doing this as a way to supercharge the growth and development that we have throughout our 20s and our 30s. Because money is tricky, right? So many people don't see it for what it is because it's so intimately tied with our self-worth and our morality and our survival. So when people try to make money or hear about money, they have all of these beliefs about it that they don't think they can change, or they register those beliefs that were conditioned into their head as truth. Your parents tell you to save your money, your pastor tells you to shun money or not worry about it, and your culture that runs on money tells you it's not important. And so you listen to all of these things, and then you just get pile drived into the ground because you have these bills stacking up, you can't get what you want in life, and you feel guilty or bad for pursuing something that you want in life, and you start to think that you can't make money and be a good person at the same time. With that is just categorically false. So am I telling you to make a bunch of money and be evil? No, I'm telling you to develop yourself, develop your mind, and develop your finances so you are a well-rounded individual who can make their own decisions when it comes to money because you've experienced it.
Dude, even the Bible says, and a lot of people get this wrong, the Bible doesn't say money is the root of all evil. It never said that. The love of money is the root of all evil. Not money, the love. When you want to do anything possible just to make money, that's where it goes wrong. Because now you're not even a good person. You're just whatever the money wants, You're a slave. But when you need money, obviously. So when you want to make money doing the right things, doing it the way you want to, for legally, you're chasing after money legally, you're creating businesses, you're trying to look for paths that lead to money. That's not wrong. That's expected of you as a human being, because if you don't make money, you're gonna die. Money literally runs the world. How are you gonna get foodstuff for your family to eat? How are you gonna get a home for shelter? You would literally die if you cannot make money. Money is necessary. Just do not love money to the point where you can do anything for it. That's the difference.
few people actually decide to see beyond the virtue signaling that is rampant on social media and everywhere else and form their own opinion about what money is and what it can do for you. I do not care how spiritual you are or how intellectual you are. If you have a poor psychological relationship with money, you are not as developed as you think you are, and you are not living as good of a life as you think you are, because money is involved in almost every single decision you make. And if you have a poor relationship with it, then your life is going to be pretty terrible. And we don't live in pre-industrial times anymore. No, you are never going to go back and live like your ancestors, not in a modern world. You aren't going to go back in time. And so the objection here is, okay, but Dan, what if I just want to make as much as I need? And that's perfectly fine. But again, you are limiting the level of challenge that you can take on in any domain of your life. You can be mostly happy.
True. And how do you know how much you need? You don't think life happens, inflation, the economy is way bad, and you now need to spend more to get a similar quality of life? You don't think sickness happens and you need a lot of money to pay for surgery? We don't pray for these things, but it's not rocket science, or you don't need a magician to tell you that these things happen. You know, the point is to make as much money as possible so that you do not find yourself in a situation where you need money, you know? Make as much money as possible legally with God by your side. That's my advice. Because when shit happens, you should be able to pull money out of the ground. You should be able to pull bread out your freezer and say, okay, I can handle this. But when you just stay within the confines of your imagination or what you think you can achieve and just stay there, God forbid something happens and then you find yourself broke or bankrupt or incapable of handling the situation because you got comfortable in a certain amount of success, or you got somewhere you're like, okay, yeah, I'm good here now. Don't do that.
Happy and satisfied, and that's great. A lot of people live great lives, but for those listening to this, I think you will resonate with the fact that you don't want to reach a point where you relive the same 6 months over and over again for multiple years, for the exact reasons we stated at the beginning of this video. And there are very few things that you can continue to progress at that aren't your work, your mind, your body, your spirit, and all of those things are intertwined. And you need to survive. Entrepreneurship and value exchange is an infinite game. Now, as dangerous and as evil as money can be, you can't build rockets or feed the world without it. Money is a globally accepted form of value. And if money just ceased to exist or people started making less, the world would get bad very fast because people don't work when they aren't motivated with a reward. That doesn't have to be your only reward, but that's why people work. With that, making money is a skill. It's so tied in with your identity that you don't see it as something that you can practice and improve. We're going to talk about how to learn anything in 2 weeks in that video. But for now, just understand that making money is like learning a language or learning how to play the guitar. The difference is that when you try to make money, one, you need another person involved, and you usually need to interact with other people. That means that your ego is going to come into play. Your values and beliefs are going to come into play. When you're playing the guitar, it's pretty obvious. You just pick a song, you try to play it, you look up how to play that specific note, then you continue learning how to play the notes, and then eventually you can play the song, and then you picked up techniques, and you go to play another song, and then it's easier, and then it's easier, and then it's easier. The thing is that with instruments or video games, so many people are okay with playing video games and getting so good at them, but with those, there's no risk. It doesn't matter if you fail. With making money, it matters if you fail, and that's exactly why it's important to do, because that's how you practically overcome caring about what other people think or managing your emotions. Entrepreneurship and making money are deeply spiritual because you experience more negative thoughts, negative emotions, negative experiences that you can work through. When you're stuck meditating all day, or you're only worried about these minor irrational things in life, you're not actually putting weight on the bar. You aren't bench pressing 315 pounds with your mind. You're lifting a 5-pound dumbbell because you're upset that someone cut you off in traffic. That's not a high magnitude. That's not a high weight that you're training with to build more mental muscle to make yourself more capable. Now, the third thing to do or to focus on is to self-actualize. Because if the overarching aim for the entirety of your life is not to self-actualize, then it's to self-sabotage. So every single action that you take should align with the purpose of self-actualization. And if they don't, then I would assume that you don't have a deep reason behind why you do what you do. And it's extremely difficult to explain the gravity of this because most people don't think about the outcome of their actions. They have a myopic focus on short-term pleasure that slowly beats them into a pulp without them realizing it until decades down the road. That is the worst possible place you could imagine yourself. Health issues that caught up with you, a mind that can adapt to the changing technological landscape. The actions you took were never a fully conscious choice, so they never led to anything great. I shouldn't have to explain the decades of psychological research that have amply dissected human needs and development. I shouldn't have to explain that if you don't self-actualize, you will experience a world of unnecessary pain and you won't know what to do about it. So, for your own good, you need to train your mind to zoom out. You need to make it a habit to adopt the perspective of the highest version of yourself and consult with them before you make a decision. It needs to become more than second nature. It needs to just become the thing that you automatically do, that when a decision comes up that is important, you consult with the higher version of yourself. Who do I not want to become? Who do I want to become? Or what life do I not want to live? What life do I want to live? And then you allow your decisions to be shaped by those answers. And you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to make every perfect decision in life. You just need to understand that most people never make a conscious decision in their life, and that if you simply do that, you will live a better life than them. Now, if you want to read more about human potential or becoming
Man, I enjoyed this video. I know I got silent towards the end there. It's because I was just soaking in everything he was saying. I was just as much as you were. Uh, he had a lot of wisdom in what he said, and it's something to reflect on, honestly. There are some things that I knew already that he said, and there are some things that I didn't know, and I'm better off for knowing them just by watching it with you guys. And yeah, there are two types of people that click off this video. There's the one who listen, they feel enlightened, and then they go right back to business as usual. They go back to your regularly scheduled programming. And then there are others who reflect on it and who actually start to make changes in their lives, who actually start to take the required steps to better their lives. Because some people just fall in love with motivation and that's it. They just fall in love with feeling like they can conquer the world, even though that only lasts for like 30 minutes, or a day, and then right back to square one. It takes a different type of person to, beyond the motivation, have something that you genuinely, deeply want and chase after it day after day after day after day. And like I said, you don't have to look at it as, oh, this gigantic thing. I know he said do that, but not too much that it crushes you, just enough that you feel like, okay, I can do this. It's hard, but I can do this. So give yourself 3 months. Say, I'm going to stick on this journey that I want to go on for 3 months, consistently, regardless. And it's going to be like, damn, 3 months is a long time, It's hard, but it's not so hard that you can't do it. Because if you tell yourself, I'm going to do this for 10 years, you're going to burn out by month 5. Because you just feel like 10 years is still way off. If you just tell yourself 3 months, to hell with it, 2 months. Just say in 2 months, I want to have as many videos out there, blah, 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 blah. And after 2 months, give yourself another 2, another 3, another 5. And that's how you do it. Just keep pacing yourself. You don't have to dream of the most, crazy things. Just give yourself a goal. By the end of this year, I want to be making at least $10,000 from my business. I want to be making at least $5,000 from my business. It's small, But if you feel like you can do it, even though it's hard, then it's the perfect spot, because that's where flow comes in, you know? That's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot, not even a little. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you enjoyed this video. Smash the like button, drop a comment if you will, hit the share button for your family and friends, and subscribe if you think, you want to see more content like this. Let me know in the comment section if you want to see more content like this. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.